Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, and we're getting closer to the end of the week and closer to finishing up our geometry unit for the week. Next week we'll switch to something different. We're going to do some more geometry today and tomorrow. And we've been talking most of the week about two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. And just as a review, remember two-dimensional shapes are flat. Okay, if you look at the paper, it's completely flat. You can see three-dimensional shapes have shape and volume. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. The only three-dimensional shape we've really talked about this week is the cube. In my hands, I have a cube. Yesterday, remember, we talked about faces. Faces are the flat part of the three-dimensional shape. We talked about vertices. Vertices are where the edges come together. Three of the edges come together and form a point, so you can kind of see the vertices. And then the edges are the lines at the edge of the face, and you have to, it's actually where the two faces come together. So if you see two faces come together and then you get a nice line there, that's actually known as an edge. So I also said yesterday the one thing that's really difficult about counting edges and vertices and faces is that a lot of times people will want to, as they count, they want to turn the cube, but if you turn it, then you tend to lose your place. Now, if we were in school, typically what I do is I use stickers, and I will stick stickers on each face so that you can, as I go, you can see that I have 6 faces on a cube. I would do the same for the vertices. Okay, there are 8 vertices on a cube. You have to count the top and the bottom. And there are 12 edges on a cube. Probably the hardest thing to count on the cube is the edges, or any 3D object for that matter. So that's just kind of a review. So what you need today, if you don't have it, you need pages 697 and 698. It's a really, really short lesson today. So when you finish this, you'll have time to go back, and if you're finished with your iReady minutes in math already, you can go ahead and do your iReady reading minutes. Nice and short, so you'll have lots of time to do that. So number 1 says, you're supposed to study the examples of the flat shapes and solid shapes, and then solve problems 1, 2, and 3. It says, how can you use flat shapes to make a cube? Look at the solid shape. So this cube is the solid shape, and the paper would be the flat shape. Look at the solid shape. Each of the 6 faces is a square. Okay, and we learned that yesterday. So each face of a cube is a square, no matter which way you turn it. And what they're asking you is, how do you use a flat shape like a square to make up a cube? Well, how many faces do you need? And you put those flat shapes together to get your solid. And then it says edges are where 2 faces come together, and we talked about that. Here's a flat face, here's a flat face. It comes together and forms that line or edge between the 2 of them. And then it says the vertices are where the 3 edges come together. Here's an edge, and here's the edge coming up. Where they all 3 meet, that gets your vertice. So that leads us to number 1. That's basically the quick review for this. Number 1, what does it mean for faces to be the same? Okay, faces are the flat part. So in words, they don't give you any lines. You need to write down, what does it mean if faces are the same? Put it in your own words. They're not trying to trick you. It's a pretty straightforward question. If faces are the same, what does that mean in your own words? Okay? If you need time to write that, go ahead and hit pause on the video. And when you're ready, you can hit play again. Number 2 then gives you a nice bunch of shapes there. It says, which of these shapes are cubes. Write the letter of each shape that's a cube and then explain how you know. So, two different parts. You have to look at each shape and decide, is it a shape or isn't it a shape? If it's a yes, you are going to choose somewhere on this paper. They don't give you a lot of room up here. You are going to put the letter and then you have to tell me why. Now, remember what makes up a cube. What makes a cube different from a rectangular prism? Because a rectangular prism has 6 faces, it has 8 vertices, and it has 12 edges. But what makes these two things different? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the faces. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to look at letter A. Is that a cube? If it is, I would go ahead and circle it. And underneath it or beside it somewhere, tell me why it's a cube. Look at the next one, letter E. Is it a cube? If it is, circle it and tell me why. If it isn't, don't circle it. Then you have B, C, D, F, G, and H. You are trying to decide which ones of those are cubes, and then you can tell me why. You probably could just give me one explanation. So if you decided a few of those were cubes and you circled them, then you could just give me one reason how you know, instead of giving me every time you circle it, because all your reasons should be the same. Okay, if you need time, go ahead and shut off the video, and when you're finished you can push play again. That leads us to number 3. It says look at shapes G and H. Okay, now I included G and H also up here. But it looks like, either way, it doesn't matter because your answers are going to be the same. But they want you to just look at these two shapes for number 3. It says name one way they are different. So tell me one way that these two shapes are different. And then tell me 2 ways that these shapes are the same. So when you talk about this, you'll want to talk about faces, vertices, and edges. Okay? Those 3 things will give you how they're different and how they're the same. Okay, any questions? Basically what you're looking at, one of the shapes is this, and it's really, really hard to tell. Because it looks like when you look at G and H, they look pretty much the same. So go ahead and see if you can tell me how they are the same and how they are different. Okay? Keep these in mind. There's your hint. Okay, if you have questions, let me know. You can email me. You can text me through the Remind app. You can ask me a question on Seesaw. Whatever you need to do. We can set up a meeting on Zoom. Let's just make sure you have it. I think it's pretty straightforward as long as you understand faces, vertices, and edges. All right. I hope you have a great time. I miss you guys. I'll see you. Bye.